Hi friends, welcome to Ivy-GreGMAT GMAT Verbal CR Session 4 Part B. I'm Arjit. Let's start. Question number 11. Which of the following most logically completes the argument? In Rubaria, excellent healthcare system is available to virtually the entire population, whereas very few people in Turland receive adequate medical care. Yet, although the death rate of most diseases is higher in Turland than in Rubaria, the percentage of male population that dies from prostate cancer is significantly higher in Rubaria than in Turland because. So let's evaluate this situation. What is happening here? It's contrary to what is expected in a particular disease. There are two countries, Rubaria and say, Turland. Now the healthcare is excellent here, very high. Here in Turland it's poor. The death rate as expected is low here, and in Turland it is high. But in a particular disease, that is prostate cancer, Rubaria is showing high rates of prostate cancer deaths, but low in Turland. Now the question is, because means why? Let's think about it this way. In a particular disease, what may be the case? Everything falls in place for Rubaria as far as good healthcare system is happening, but death rate is high. If you look at the option B, we may get an idea. Most men who have prostate cancer are older than the average life expectancy for male inhabitants of Turland. Now think about it. The average life expectancy of Rubaria and Turland. In Turland, say it is 50 years. Say in Rubaria, it is 70 years. Now, thinking about this, if prostate cancer as a disease that strikes people who are 60 plus, 60 years and above, then if this is the basic condition for getting prostate cancer, then most people may not be reaching this age in Turland and may be dying of some other disease or otherwise, poor healthcare, etc. But in Rubaria, most of the people they reach this age, and that is why the number of people reporting prostate cancer is higher in Rubaria, and in Turland it may be negligible. So the reported cases are higher. Reported cases in Turland are extremely low. That is why the death rate is high and is low here. That answers this, right? So our answer is B. Most men who have prostate cancer are older. So let's complete this. Yet, although the death rate of most of the diseases is higher in Turland than in Rubaria, the percentage of male population that dies from prostate cancer is significantly higher in Rubaria than in Turland because most men who have prostate cancer are older than the average life expectancy of the male inhabitants in Turland. That absolutely sums it up. Correct answer B. Fine. Let's move into the next one. Question number 12. The last members of the now extinct species of the European wild deer called the giant deer lived in Ireland about 16,000 years ago. Prehistoric cave paintings in France depict this animal as having a large hump on its back. Fossils of this animal, however, do not show any hump. Nevertheless, there is no reason to conclude that the cave paintings are therefore inaccurate in this regard. Since so something like some facts are given, the giant deer that lived something around 16,000 years back, prehistoric cave paintings shows a hump. Fine. But in the fossils, this hump is missing. is missing. But the author says, nevertheless, there is no reason to conclude that the cave paintings are therefore inaccurate. So that doesn't mean these are inaccurate in this regard, since what may be the reason? So thinking about this, the fossils generally store the bones. It's only the bones which are there, not the fats or the other things. So in a fossil, you find the bones only. So anything that composes the hump is definitely something that has to be investigated. Whether after 16,000 years, that thing which is the composition of the hump, is it possible to have that in the place or not? Let's go to option C. I think that sums it up. Animal humps are composed of fatty tissues which do not fossilize. So the author comes out with the reason that since hump are made of fatty tissues, these fatty tissues do not fossilize. Right? So C seems to be the best answer, because the missing hump in the fossils is because the fatty tissues didn't fossilize. So the cave paintings are rather painting the exact image or the actual image of the giant deer. So let's complete the sentence and see how it looks like. Nevertheless, there is no reason to conclude that the existing cave paintings are therefore inaccurate in this regard, since animal humps are composed of fatty tissues which do not fossilize. C is the correct answer. Question number 13. The irradiation of food kills bacteria and thus retards spoilage. However, however, it also lowers the nutritional value of many foods. For example, irradiation destroys a significant percentage of whatever vitamin B1 a food may contain. Proponents of irradiation point out that irradiation is no worse in this respect than cooking. However, this fact is either besides the point, since much irradiated food is eaten raw, or else misleading, since now this has got many twists here, because there is there are many facts which are given. First and foremost thing, this process kills bacteria, thus retards spoilage. However, this has got a negative effect, that is lowers the nutritional value of the food. So then he comes out with an example. It destroys a significant percentage of whatever vitamin B1 a food may contain. Now, proponents or the supporters say that is no worse than cooking. So, irradiation and cooking are is equivalent to cooking, right? Now, the author says, however, this fact is either besides the point, because this fact maybe is beside the point, since much of this kind of irradiated food is eaten raw, or else misleading, since why? Now, we need to understand this. Irradiated food is like is to kill bacteria, and it lowers vitamins, certain type of vitamin between B1. Here, this is the first fact. Number two is this irradiation is equivalent to cooking. Is equivalent to cooking. So the effects are more or less the same. The author is challenging this, that this is not true because irradiation is actually more harmful. So the proponents are saying irradiation is cooking, so why? What's the issue? The author says that okay, this is besides the point because much of the irradiated food is eaten raw. So this is written raw or is else misleading. Since why? Now, in any case, if these two things have a cumulative effect, then definitely this is not correct. No, I mean, then this definitely author's words are correct. So let's check out the options which can best fit in. Let's see option E. For food that is both irradiated and cooked, the reduction in B1 associated with either process individually is compounded. Yes, exactly. So the reduction in B1 associated with either of the processes individually is compounded. So the reduction level of this important vitamin is compounded. So there is a plus here. So that definitely completes the sentence, or rather sums up the argument when he says that, however, this fact is either beside point, since much irradiated food is eaten raw, or else misleading. Why it's misleading? Since for food that is both irradiated and cooked, the reduction in B1 associated with either process individually is compounded. Absolutely correct. Option E is the correct answer. Fine. Okay, let's go into the next one. Number 14. According to promotional material published by City of Springfield, more tourists stay in hotels in Springfield than stay in neighboring city of Harristown. A brochure from the largest hotel in Harristown claims that more tourists stay in that hotel than stay in a hotel Royal Arms in the Royal Arms Hotel in Springfield. In both these, if both these sources are accurate, however, the report on tourism for the region must be in error in stating that. Okay, so the question here is, there are certain facts that are given. If both these sources are accurate, however, the report on tourism for the region must be in error in stating that. This means which of the following, if stated, must be and will be an error, keeping in mind that both the previous given facts are correct. So the answer should be one, any of these options that will challenge the facts which is given here. So given that understanding, which where people go wrong in understanding the question itself, let's start. So what is the fact one? There are two facts which are given. There are two cities, Springfield and there is one, Harristown. Now the fact one is more tourists stay in hotels in Springfield. More tourists here and less tourists here. Fact two, some brochure comes and they say that from the largest hotel in Harristown, claiming that the more tourists stay in that hotel, so less tourists in Royal Arms. Than this largest hotel. More tourists in largest hotel. So respecting both these facts, fact 1 and fact 2, which of the following must be an error? So let's knock off option by option. Option A says the average length of the stay is longer at the largest hotel in Harristown than it is at the Royal Arms Hotel. We are not, this doesn't dispute the facts. Fair enough, it can be long. So obviously this is not the correct answer. Option B, there is only one hotel in Harristown that is larger than Royal Arms Hotel. It can be. Yes, one hotel in Harristown which is larger than that of the Royal Arms Hotel. It may be the second or the third largest or maybe 10th largest hotel in Springfield. And more tourists stay. This fact is also intact. So more tourists stay in a hotel in Harristown than stay in the Royal Arms Hotel. Fair enough, that can happen. There are 10 tourists who are staying here. There are 100 tourists which can stay in this particular hotel. So, or otherwise. So, it doesn't dispute the facts. Let's look at option D. Uh, Royal Arms Hotel is the largest hotel in Springfield. It may so happen that this is the largest hotel. The largest hotel of Harristown can accommodate more number of people in Springfield. Possible. And more number of tourists stay in Springfield because Springfield may be having larger number of hotels. And this Harristown may be having less number of hotels. Royal Arms Hotel is the only hotel in Springfield. This definitely disputes the argument because if that is so, then this fact is going to be disputed. Royal Arms Hotel is the only hotel in Springfield. The total number of boarders in the hotel in Harristown is more than the Springfield. Then how come more tourists are staying here in this hotel? If this is the only hotel, then this argument falls apart. So option E is the correct answer. Okay, let's go to the next one. Question number 15. Either food scarcity or excessive hunting can threaten a population of animals. If the group faces food scarcity, individuals in the group will reach reproductive maturity later than otherwise. If the group faces excessive hunting, individuals that reach reproductive maturity earlier will come to predominate. Therefore, it should be possible to determine whether the prehistoric mastodons became extinct because of food scarcity or human hunting. Since there are fossil mastodon remains, so once again. Therefore, it should be possible to determine whether the prehistoric mastodons became extinct because of food scarcity or human hunting. Since there are fossilized mastodon remains from both before and after mastodon population declined, and so this argument comes out with a few facts that any extinct animal is reason being the extinction may be because of food scarcity or due to excessive hunting. Food scarcity leads to reach the reproductive age maturity later. Excessive hunting, food scarcity leads to reproductive age later. Excessive hunting individuals that reach reproductive maturity age earlier will come to predominate. So excessive hunting leads to the other way situation where the younger people, no, maturity earlier will come to predominate. So the rep age early will predominate. Now the author's argument is, therefore, it is possible to determine whether certain prehistoric mastodons became extinct because of food scarcity or human hunting. since the fossilized mastodons remains from both before and after the mastodon population declined. One thing is that in a given prehistoric animal, if I know these two facts, we can determine the reason for extinction, whether it was food scarcity or was it excessive hunting. Reason being, we know that the age group in which they are, because we know what happened previously and now what is the situation, both because of after have declined. So we know what happened previously and what happened after the decline. So if I look at the fossils and if I look at this, then I can actually check out what may be the age at which they became extinct. So let's look at which fits in the best. Mm, okay, option B. This definitely sets the average age at which mastodons from a given period reached reproductive maturity can be established from their fossilized remains. Yes, if this can be established, then we can definitely complete this argument. Therefore, it should be possible to determine whether the prehistoric mastodons became extinct because of food scarcity or human extinction, since there are fossilized mastodon remains from both before and after mastodon population decline, and the average age at which the mastodons from a given period reached reproductive maturity can be established from their fossilized remains. Absolutely perfect. Option B is the correct answer. B. Fair. Let's go to the next one. Question number 16. Although the number of large artificial satellites orbiting Earth is small compared to the number of small pieces of debris in orbit, the large satellites therefore uh, interfere more seriously with telescope observations because of the strong reflections they produce. Because many of those large satellites have ceased to function, the proposal has recently been made to eliminate interference with the not from non-functioning satellites by exploring them in the space. This proposal, however, is ill-conceived since there are certain facts given large satellites, they interfere in the communication, in the telescopic or observation. Now the question is, people start thinking about it and how it happens because of strong reflections. Because of strong reflection. Now, because there are many large satellites which have ceased to function, the proposal has been made to eliminate these large satellites by exploding them in the space. That will solve the issue, that the interference with the telescopic observations will not happen. But this kind of a proposal is ill-founded. What may be the reason? Let us get into the fact that the interference in the telescopic observation is because of strong reflections. So we have to find out something that in spite of the large satellites exploded in the space, this strong reflection is not going to go down. This will be same or may actually go up. Here, if that is the thing, let's look at the options and see option E. A greater increase in the number of small particles in the Earth's orbit would result in a blanket of reflection that would make certain valuable telescopic observations impossible. So what the author is claiming, that if we explode it in the space, small particles will start orbiting the Earth. So if this is Earth and there was this satellite which was a single piece orbiting, rather useless, non-functional, if we explode it, this will become multiple species around the Earth. This will actually inhibit the telescopic observations further. Reason being, there will be a blanket of reflections that would make these observations impossible. Absolutely correct. Let's read it and find out whether it's 100% or not. Because many of those old large satellites have ceased to function, the proposal has recently been made to eliminate interference from the functioning satellites by exploding them in the space. This proposal, however, is ill-conceived since option E, a greater a greatly increased number of small particles in Earth's orbit would result in a blanket of reflection that would make certain valuable telescopic observations impossible. Option E, absolutely correct. Let's go in for the next one. Question number 17. Which of the following logically completes the passage? A certain tropical island received food donations from in the form of powdered milk for distribution to its poorest citizens, who were thought to be malnourished. Subsequently, the rate of liver cancer among the islanders increased sharply. The donated milk was probably to blame. Recent laboratory research on rats have shown that that rats briefly exposed to to the substance aflatoxin tends to develop liver cancer, which when fed with casein, a milk protein. The result is relevant because now something has happened in an island. People are fed with powdered milk, which is distributed. Subsequently, rate of liver cancer went up sharply. This much is okay. Something happened and the rate of liver cancer went up. Then there was an experiment that was done on rats that showed that the rats briefly exposed to the development of liver cancer. This result is relevant. Now this is because. Let us break it further. Liver cancer in a certain island, it went up. The milk was to be that was fed previously. So milk donated was the culprit that was thought about. Then certain experiments were made, which were lab experiments, which said that rats, which are made on rats, so experiment on rats led to believe that rats, when exposed to a substance called as aflatoxins, tend to develop liver cancer when fed with casein. So that this result is relevant. Now the author is trying to connect that this is correct because okay, let's find out whether the people who are living in that island were feeding on something which had a natural aflatoxin. So when the milk came in the picture and they started milk along with the natural normal food which had aflatoxin as one of the components, aflatoxin as its component. This led to the rise of liver cancer here. That's the only thing that can happen. Otherwise, aflatoxin tablets may not have been taken by the people who are anyway malnourished. They must be having a staple food or a normal food where aflatoxin quantity is higher. Let's look at option E. We find that this something somewhere substantiated. In the tropics, like halon, peanuts, a staple of these island residents, support a mold growth that produces aflatoxins. Absolutely perfect. Option E is looks to be the correct answer. What is happening in these tropical islands? wherever certain tropical island it happened. They eat certain nuts, a staple of the island residents, that supports a mold growth. Certain fungi they grow that produces this chemical. So these people, when they were fed with milk, they reported a higher liver cancer. Which is why the rats experiment, it is true, and so it happened with the human beings out there. So let's read it again. The donated milk was probably to blame. Recent laboratory research on rats have shown that the rats briefly exposed to the substance aflatoxin tends to develop liver cancer when fed casein. Casein means milk protein. The result is relevant because in the tropics like Halon, a staple of this island residents support a mold growth and produces aflatoxins. Option B, correct. Okay. Okay, let's go to the next one. Question number 18. Researchers recently asked dozens of shoppers choose at chosen at random coming out of food basket supermarket what they had purchased. The prices of the very same items in the nearest Shopper King supermarket were totaled and compared with food basket total. The Shopper King total averaged 5% higher than food basket totals. Nevertheless, this result does not necessarily show that shoppers at Shoppers King would save money overall by shopping at food basket. Instead, since there are two shopping malls or supermarkets. One is the food basket, another is Shopper King supermarket. So food basket and Shopper King. So people were asked what is the total of the similar items. They found in the Shopper King's totals averaged 5% higher than the food basket total. So this is if this is X, the X plus 5%. Or say let's if this is $100, the bill has been $5. Okay. Nevertheless, this result does not necessarily show that an obvious reaction will be people who have gone here will shift to this place. But our author said, nevertheless, this result does not necessarily show that the shoppers of Shopper King, or the say shoppers. One second. Let me put it this way. So the shoppers of this will shift here. So nevertheless, this does not necessarily show that shoppers of Shoppers King would save money overall by shopping in at Food Basket. Instead, since the author says if they shop here, it's not necessary that they will save money. So there are two things in picture. There is rather one thing only in picture, that is saving money. The shopper is taking into the author is taking into account that part only, the not the experience, etc., which we may be swayed while answering this question. So the price is the only thing, it is presumed by the author, that drives the buying behavior. So let's evaluate what may be the reason that they will not be swayed away. Let's look at option A. Shoppers who shop regularly in a given supermarket generally choose that store for the low prices offered on the items that they purchase most often. Well, that sounds to be perfect. That I choose this one, Food Basket or Shoppers King. Choose the store for the low prices offered on the items that they purchase. So I go for this because I purchase X, Y, and Z. I compare these three items only, the price of, and I find this is for these, the shopping shoppers found this as a better destination than food basket. Seems to be absolutely perfect. Then I will not gain here because for a given set of item which I often buy, I will look for places which offers the least price. So that's the argument here. And that rather says why people will not jump here. People will stick to this place. Okay, let's look at the other option for shoppers with more than 20 items. The Shopper King total averaged more than 5% higher than the food basket. It is coming out with another fact. Many shoppers consider factors other than price in choosing the supermarket. We are talking about price only. So, because the argument is based on price, there is little variation from month to month in the overall quantity of purchase not talked about. None of the people who conducted the research were employees. This affiliate. So option A is the correct answer. Nevertheless, this result does not necessarily show that shoppers at Shopper King would save money overall by shopping at Food Basket instead, since the shoppers who shop regularly at a given supermarket generally choose that store for the low prices offered on the items that they purchase most often. Fine, let's go in for the next one and see. Question number 19. A significant number of Qualitics Corporation department heads are due to retire this year. The number of employees other than the current department heads who could take on the position of the department head is equal to only about half the expected vacancies. Something peculiar is happening here. Half the expected vacancies. Qualitics is not going to hire department heads from outside the company or have current department heads take over more than one department. So some departments will be without department heads next year unless Qualitex. Okay, a situation here is there. Say a certain company, the number of department heads will retire. Fact one, a high number will retire. Will retire. The fact two remains that they will promote the existing people only. Because recruitment from outside is not going to take place. So department will be, the question is the department will be out of departmental heads. So let's take it this way. Only about half. So let's take it this way. Politics is having a problem that the total number of retirements, the total number of people who are going to retire, total, see it is 10 departmental heads who are going to retire. So there are 10 vacancies which are going to be created. But number of candidates will be 5. So what about the rest? So the one option can be, given these facts, will be to give one departmental head 2 departments. But that is not going to be the case. More than one department won't be given. So what may happen otherwise? Because otherwise, few departments will be without departmental heads. If one departmental head is not given two departments or something like that, or maybe one department, one DP head. If he is given two departments or more, then only all these 10 departments which are going to face a crisis tomorrow because of vacancies and not having departmental heads can be rectified, because we are not hiring from outside. Okay, 10 vacancies are there, 5 I fill from within plus 5 from outside. This is not happening here. So to run the show, the only other option is merge the departments. So 10 departments will reduce to 5 departments and the show can go on. So let's look at the option. Option E. Reduce the number of its departments. Absolutely perfect fit. So let's read it. Qualitex is not going to hire department heads from outside the company or have the current department heads take over more than one department. So the departments will be without heads next year unless Qualitex reduces the number of its departments. Yes, exactly. Fine. Is the correct answer. Let's see. One second. So that brings us to the end of session 4. Please do it again and check out your answers. Do it the way I have done it. That will be helpful. Right? Thank you.